Hello, everybody. So we're going to give a few minutes for people to start joining in. Tami will be here shortly. This one's going to be all about pregnancy. So I thought we'd do it a bit differently than how we've done it on the last few. We're going to try and do this in a progression from how a pregnancy would go. So that would be from the first questions about, should I even be breeding my dog? Is my dog, in the right structure, health, and everything else to breed? To some of my notes here, to finding a stud, selecting a stud, how you might go about that. If you talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about how you know your dog is pregnant, and then things that might go wrong directly after pregnancy, and then we're going to talk about the pregnancy itself, the things that you should be doing at that time, and then finally the whelp. So it's going to be from this point to this point is the plan. And Tami will be with us. There she is in the background. Tami will be with us in a few minutes. So if you ask questions, that's great if you do. We're going to try and slot those answers into those different sections. So if you ask something and I don't answer it in a minute or two, it's because I'm hopefully said, hey, I see your question, and then we're going to talk about that when we get to that part of kind of a 5-part section. And then when I'm talking about things that people are coming on, hey, we would really like people to subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like. It really helps us out on our YouTube stats. And I mean, all of this stuff we do because we want to help people and we want to get the word out. So if you like it, give us a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated. And Tami, we're going to get Tami mic'd up here, and we're about ready to roll. Doesn't help with that? Yeah. We'll press this little button right here. We use this little Bluetooth microphones that are bought on Amazon, and you can have multiple microphones go back. Say, I've got one on too. It's pretty cool. Anyway, enough on that. So let's see here, just in case people are asking any questions yet. All right, so we've got. I'm going to put this one right away. So this is from Hugo asks about a dog that's not coming to heat. It's 1 year and 3 months old. Should he be worried? No. So we'll answer that in a little bit more detail here in a second. So the questions would be, you're thinking about breeding your dog. Should you breed your dog? Well, the answer is there's lots of things that you should be asking yourself. Are you prepared to put the time in? Do you have a small amount of funds that you need to have the right equipment in place so that you can take care of the puppies? But the big thing is, do you have the time to do this? Is this something you enjoy? Because when you get into this, and you've got puppies, you've got a little bit of time before whelps, and then another 8 weeks of you kind of being on call somewhat to look after puppies, especially for that first week, 10 days. So I think the first thing is make sure that you've got time for this. Okay, then the next question is, should you breed your dog? Well, you've got time for it. How old is she? AKC says it's going to be 7 months or older. Nobody in their right mind is going to breed a dog at 7 months.
Now you can save on Cox Internet when you add Cox
So
Mobile,
for us, dogs need to be at least a year old, typically on the second heat at that point. And so the question that Hugo had, when would their first heat be? It might be as soon as 6 months, not uncommon. Most dogs have their first heat around the 1 year mark. Some dogs go a year and a half, 2 years, and Hugo's worried because his is 1 year and 3 months. No, don't get worried about it. You're not going to do. I mean, there are products you can give, like PG600, which is like a pig product to bring swine in. Some people use that, but I really don't recommend that unless it's really a last-ditch attempt. When you've got a dog that hasn't ever heat cycle and it's 3 years old, I think I'd be using PG600 to find out what the heck's going on and see if I could force it. But I generally like the idea about letting nature take its work and be as natural on this as you reasonably can.
I can get this up on my phone. You want to do that?
You can use this phone right here.
Okay.
Let me just look at questions. We're going to share a phone. Okay, so now we're going to get, someone's asking about how often do surgicals fail, and we'll get to that. And somebody's asking about supplements. We're going to get to those. So let me just have my piece of paper here because I'm going to kind of make me some notes. All right, so we talked about should you breed a dog. All right, so we're at the point now, obviously, to carry on with this conversation. You're going to breed a dog. Oh, by the way, some other things about that I should have said. If this has been a dog that's had a litter before, you've got some really good information about how she behaves, how she is with the babies. whether you had any problems with babies, whether you enjoyed the process, whether you found homes for the puppies, whether when they did a C-section, if that's what was happening, that her insides looked good and she's ready for another round. Does she bounce back quickly from having a litter? Is she back to a normal weight, normal, happy, playful self, or is she having problems? So those are all questions as well for people who've got a dog that's had a litter, and the question is, should I breed again? All right, so now we're going to talk about the stud process. Right, so of course, Cody, my son, has got a whole bunch of Frenchy studs. So I don't want to start trying to push people that direction, but I would say this: find somebody who knows what the heck they are doing. I mean, obviously, you want to choose a stud that complements your girl, complements in structure, number one. If you don't get that right, then I mean, there's not a lot of point in doing this. So get the structure right, number one. Number two would be get the colors that make sense for the puppies that you like to produce. And a stud owner should be able to help you greatly, giving you predictions on what colors you're going to get. I certainly could give you a prediction on statistics as to what you're going to get based off two dogs, off the top of my head. But people need to know that stuff, or you need to know it. Otherwise, you have to wonder whether you've either got to be the experienced person, or you've got to have somebody who's holding the hand who is. And so that's my point about DNA. Check to make sure that somebody knows what they're doing. Then maybe some biohistory on the stud that you're choosing. How often is that stud used? Has he produced litters before? Can I see pictures of his puppies maybe? They would all be good questions to ask. And then I think it makes sense to have some kind of a contract. I mean, look, are you going to get AKC paperwork? Is their dog AKC registered? How do they sign off on this when when am I paying for the stud fee? Am I putting the deposit down? What do I get for returns if I have a problem? How many shipments are you going to send? How do you ship? What happens as the weekend? Those are all things that you should be asking. And the answer to those, if they can give you the right answers, is going to give you an idea that you're headed in the right direction and you're in the hands of somebody who really can help you. All right, so then there were some questions about the actual process itself. So now we're going to talk about timing the mating, and then we'll talk about the actual technique to get the dog pregnant. All right, so let's talk about this heat cycle and what you'd normally expect to see. This is not true of all dogs. Here's Tami. You need to lower this down so people can see you. Here we go. Going
Too
down.
short.
Here we are.
See, look how big your head is.
Get forward here. Get forward. All right. So, what was someone's little? I don't remember what I was talking about now. Yeah. So somebody was asking about progesterone testing and how you tell the dog's ready to be bred. Yes. So this is what makes for. Look, we're all in this to have a nice litter of big, fat, healthy puppies. A good sized litter. How do you get there? Well, first thing to do is to get the timing right on when to breed the dog. So we're going to talk about that part next. So what's a normal heat cycle? I think most of you probably know this. Not probably telling you any great news, but basically day one, first signs of blood. Most dogs swell up over the next few days. By about day 9, day 2, day 3, day 4, it might look like a murder scene. Some dogs don't bleed a lot, but most dogs have got pretty visible signs of pretty dark red blood, isn't it, Tami?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kit was awful. She swelled up like a
baboon.
Climb.
Looked like a baboon.
Yeah.
It looked like a peach back there.
Yeah.
A peach, and then all of her bedding and everything else, and the panties.
You didn't want to walk behind her.
No, there'd be drops on the ground. It was obvious.
No, just the look of it.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, yeah, that too.
Looks pretty scary.
I mean, this sounds bad. I was excited, but not for that,
No.
But because I wanted to see what kind of babies she would produce. I was just really looking forward to that. Anyway, so most dogs are going to be like Kit, swell up. Other dogs are around, might be licking, sniffing. Male dogs might be sniffing on her. But about day 9, things start lightening up on color. Goes rosé, pink, even vanilla color.
Yeah, there's times that it gets.
How do you test a dog's blood color?
By the color?
Yes.
Just the lighter it gets, the closer you're getting.
With a napkin?
Oh, yeah.
You like that better than a
paper
Q-tip?
towel. Yeah, I do.
I don't like a Q-tip because it's so dark, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You put a Q-tip on there, they always come back dark. And if you put it you get a much...
Paper towel's good.
Paper towel's the best, isn't it? And you can really see this change from this blood reds to a rosé to typically vanilla color. Sometime, day 9, starting to lighten up. That's ovulation. 2 days later, you'd expect to breed the dog. By then, it should be really light. And she should be very responsive. Don't worry too much about the males because they're little horn dogs, right?
Yeah.
So, but the way the female behaves is probably the most. So, it's like a little.
If she's fighting them off, she's not ready.
Yeah, exactly. If
she's backing it up, she's
right.
ready.
So backing it up, those of you who've got dogs with a tail, you'll see the tail go right off to the side. Little Frenchies, you even see that little nub moving off the side.
When we used to raise labs, that tail would just flip over to the side.
Yeah, flip over to the side. And I mean, basically a backhand would almost be winking away.
Oh,
a dog that big.
Well, like a horse.
Like a horse, right.
Yeah.
So that's a dog that's what's called standing heat. If she flags, puts her tail to the side, and she will let a male get up on her back right away or after 3 or 4 minutes.
But on French Bulldogs, you don't. Yeah.
No, but the point here is it's a really, if you're not doing a PG test, that piece of information, number of days, and when she's receptive and will stand what's called standing heat, you can time. That's why we used to time the labs. We didn't have PG tests. We did it very successfully.
Did you answer that guy's question about his dog is a year and 3 months?
Yes, I did. Who goes? Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. Yes.
I was trying to.
Yes. Otherwise, we need a moderator to kind of.
You need a big screen right here.
Yeah, I know we do.
Yeah, because
what we've got right here. An old
my phone wouldn't operate.
This is a low budget operation here. What we want to give you is great quality content for $0. That's the plan.
That's James.
And that's why by the way, we say hit that like button. It would really appreciate it because it does help us in our YouTube standings in terms of how many people we've got. We've got about 80,000 people who subscribe to our channel. So that's pretty significant. But we'd like to make it, twice that number in the next year. And it would help everybody because we'd make these productions more professional and you'd enjoy them more, right? We might even give prizes away too.
You need to answer questions.
Okay.
Chatter.
Right. All right, so we're going to answer the one about the supplements here in a little bit. Stud for next breeding is 2 hours away. Oh, okay, that's a good question. So we're going to go back a notch, John Below's question about basically, do you take if the stud dog is across the country, of course, someone's shipping some chilled semen to you, not frozen semen, chilled. Unless it's a dead dog and it's been archived, then it would be frozen, but chilled semen. But in John's case here, John's got a stud that's in another town, a couple of hours away. So the question gets to be, do you take the dame to the stud or the stud to the dame? Right. So I got 2 answers for you, both. From Cody's point of view, with 13 active studs, he's not coming to you. He's either shipping it to you or you're coming to him. And he takes care of the whole operation, doesn't he?
Well, they've been talking beforehand, too, exactly which stud they will use.
So, occasionally somebody calls up, hey, my studs.
Who the customer wants to choose to use.
But I've had many calls over the years for somebody to call up and say, hey, my stud's not being able to deliver and I've got to do something now. Can you ship? It's like, hell yeah, I'll just do it right now. But anyway, so in those cases, look, you're going to have to go to the stud. And I think the normal situation is the dame's going to go to the stud. Occasionally, maybe it's a really high-end breeding and the stud owner wants an interest in this breeding, maybe a puppy back. He might be willing to come to you to make sure this happens. So I think that's the time that's going to happen. Otherwise, I think it's going to be almost certainly every time. And then also, there's another part to this as well. The stud has got to perform. The female, and I'm going to get comments on it. I'm going to be careful how I say this. But the female's job basically is to stand there. And she's going to be receptive, regardless probably whether she's at home or not. I think it's much, much more likely that you mess up the libido of a male dog, especially a young one, by putting into an environment that he might be scared. So I would, if at all possible, I'd want to come visit. So there's John's question. All right.
Or just do it at home.
Yes.
In the comfort of their home.
Hey, somebody says Cody is super helpful and informative. Cody's our son, and he is. Yeah. He knows so much about this. I mean, he's
been raising Frenchies for what, 15 years?
Yeah,
now?
all of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he knows what he's doing.
Yes. All right. So we're talking now about the actual process of the numbers. I'm talking about PG numbers. We decided we're going to breed a dog when it's really receptive. It's in standing heat. Its color's gone light. And its PG number on an IDEX machine, which most of the vets use, is going to be around a 15 for a regular vaginal AI. And it's going to be a 17, a 15 to 20 on an IDEX. The fine care machine we sell, a lot of people use, is going to be a 17 to a 25 for a vaginal AI, right? So you can do that yourself. All you need is a little kit, right? Remember when I had my knee broken?
We had 6 dogs to breed.
And who AI'd them?
I did.
Had you ever done an AI before?
Never had.
Did you watch the video of mine? You
well,
better say yes.
I watched James and
she watched somebody else's video.
But no, I did not.
But you got it done, didn't you?
I got all 6 pregnant.
6 pregnant. So we're going to come to the next question
myself
here.
on the back. James would always brag.
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. I mean,
how well he did.
you tore it up, girl.
That was the first time, and it was easy.
It is easy. So I mean,
scary at first, but then it got to be easy.
So vaginal on those numbers, 2 days after ovulation, that's the kind of right place. We like to do 2 of them, 2 days apart. Spread this thing out. You've got a better chance of hitting the right numbers, especially if you don't have a PG test.
And those weren't all our females either. They were customers.
Right. Yeah, right.
We had 1 female that we were breeding.
Yeah. My knee got better and I got fired. I haven't been doing any since then. Tami does them all.
My female workers were like, yes, we can do it.
Okay, so we know what the numbers are. If you're shipping, then remember it's going to take at least a day to get to you. If you live in certain places, like certain parts of Hawaii, it could take 2 days. If you're outside the United States, it's probably going to take 2 days to get semen. And most of the continental US, you can get like FedEx, which is what we use, any day of the week. But you can't get anything Monday because that would have to be shipped Saturday. And we do that occasionally, but that's a pretty long span. Anyway, enough of that. So now...
Well, you need to pay attention to what holidays are going on because
that's President's Day Monday.
And the weather.
Well, no, yes. You're right. So UPS doesn't run tomorrow. Yeah. FedEx and UPS do. They're not. So
people that even fly there, you got to pay attention to that weather big time.
But again, your stud owner should know this stuff. But it makes sense for you to be aware of it because if it's the weekend, can they? A lot of rural areas can't get deliveries on a Saturday.
Cody's constantly reminding people, what day. We're constantly telling people what time to let us know when, because UPS picks up at a certain time.
That's another whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're using a stud and it's going to be shipped, make sure that you know by what time you've got to let them know, so they've got time to.
And remember,
collect,
we're
package.
Central Time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual. So Elizabeth Manuel says, how often does a surgical AI fail? So we're going to talk about the actual process. So. Look, you could be doing an artificial insemination with an AI rod, which is what Tami was so successful at doing. Great. You can do it yourself, don't need a vet. In fact, if you look at our videos, I think you probably can do it better than a vet. Or you could do a TCI, which is a transcervical insemination, where they basically have a long rod with a camera on the end of it, and they put that inside the dog and get close to where the cervix is. So that they can get up through the cervix, so they can actually deposit semen close to the uterus. Do that a day later than a vaginal, and then the other one will be a surgical. And a surgical, the dog has to be put under anesthesia, intubated, little small cut in the stomach, pull out the uterus, take the semen directly inject into the uterus. So then the question that somebody's asked here is...
But remember, when you're doing an AI yourself, you want to hold that female upside down or not, tilted at an angle.
Butt up in the air.
Yeah, for at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Yes,
and hold her there like that.
This is a place.
Then you put her in a crate.
This is one of the things that I see that vets do wrong. And I don't want
to cover the crate up and put her in there and let her sleep.
Because why are you doing that?
Don't let her go out to go pee.
That's right. We don't want to pee.
Yeah,
you just put this stuff
put her in that crate for a couple hours.
Yes. So what I see most of the time with the vets, they're so busy.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to hold that dog for you for 30, 45 minutes.
So if you're going to go to the vet and they can't hold that dog up for you, they could give you the dog and you could
sit out in the car and do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hate so many people who call up and they said, oh, yeah, the vet did the AI. It just took a couple of minutes, gave me the dog back. Put the dog in a crate, came home, and there's a puddle underneath the dog. Does it matter?
Remember, too, before you AI her, let her go out to go potty.
Yeah, right.
And then do this.
Right. So the question was, which of those 3 is better and what are the success rates? There are a lot of things that affect success rate. Quality semen, correctly put in the dog at the right time. That fundamentally, if you've got those wrong, you're not getting crap, right? But generally, if that is done right, what's the percentage of dogs that end up being pregnant? I think something around 80%.
What's the mistake some people make when they get the semen shipped to them and it's chilled? And what do they do when they take it out immediately?
Yeah, I could get into all that stuff about handling semen and shipping semen, but
but that's part of being successful.
Well, it's all part of being successful. But the question was the success rate. I think about 80. And what do you think? 80%?
Yeah.
I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
I mean, you can probably get better than that. You can certainly get a hell of a lot worse than that. I mean, I got people who haven't got a dog bred 3 times in a row, and almost always those aren't problems with the dog. They're problems that people haven't done the AI at the right time with the right semen. Anyway. So I think that a surgical probably has got a slightly higher success rate. Maybe it's 85%. However, there are some risks involved that I don't like at all. You've got to intubate a dog, got to open it up. You can have infection and those and it's a lot more expensive. I think the 2 vaginal AIs is a lot better way of going at this than a surgical or a TCI, because it spreads out that window, and that's what we do, and it's virtually worthless. And we almost always get our dogs pregnant, so we're better than 85%. We're not 100% though. Okay. So Samantha Perez asked, does the female bleed a little bit after bleeding? Yeah, quite common. So and then we're going to talk now about what's going to happen after you bred a dog. So what do we do? There's some things that we do immediately after we bred a dog. We start giving the folic acid.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Immediately.
So, immediately, right.
Yeah.
So
and I like to do vitamins.
And you do vitamins too, don't you?
And
right.
we do our Biljack if you can get it.
So we're going to talk about the whole diet that we're going to put the dog on, but I think the thing here is the moment you do the AI.
But the folic acid is very important.
It stops birth defects. It's not like it's guaranteed you're not going to have cleft palates, but we don't get cleft palates, and we give folic acid. And we have had cleft palates in the past, not lots, but you know those dogs aren't even with us anymore anyway. But the point here is we haven't had a cleft palate in a long, long time.
Very long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I said Biljack. It's puppy food. Put them on puppy food.
Yeah. Put mom on a high protein diet.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Right away. Right.
Yeah.
So
Biljack's not until a week before babies are born.
What do you want your mom to look like as the pregnancy goes on?
Nice and fat.
Yeah.
I got to get a throat thing.
Yeah. We don't want a skinny dog that looks like it's been living in the Sahara. We want a dog that's got a little bit of chunk to it, because it's going to lose that chunk over the next couple of weeks after puppies are born. It's going to start looking pretty skinny. I mean, if you think about what you've got to do, is that, that's guys out there who've got no idea what the hell. You've got to produce a baby from your body. And I mean, in the case of a dog, maybe 10 babies. I mean, it's going to take some doing. And the whole thing's a miracle, but it's also a miracle a dog can survive. And you better be pouring the calories to her. So it doesn't mean get her so fat she can't jump off the couch, but it means be a slight, a tucked in waist. We don't want that. And the challenge you're going to have is them wanting to eat food at the back end of the pregnancy.
Yeah.
So what do you do about that?
When they want to eat food at the back end of the pregnancy?
5 days from whelp. She walks away and doesn't know the question.
Yeah, and I'm trying to catch up.
All right, so we've got a dog that's pregnant. We're 5 days from whelp, right? She's losing her appetite.
Well, you hope that she you hand feed her.
Okay.
I've had hand fed my females when they act like they don't want to eat.
Yep. So to us, the things that make a dog eat when it won't eat would be diet, something different. Biljack is the product. If you live east of the Rockies, you can go get Biljack in the Walmart frozen section.
Biljack's fantastic.
They love it.
If you get it in the frozen section.
Yeah, and it's good stuff. It's not rubbish, right? So that would be one thing.
It's not cheap, I'll tell you that right now. But
if
it's worth it.
Yes. Well, what you don't want is a dog that quits eating 5 days before whelp. So the Biljack, I would just do that routinely. Hand feed, like Tami was talking about, dogs that don't want to have anything, all of a sudden they'll start taking stuff out of your hand, and you've got to sit there.
You have to go scramble an egg. Go scramble an egg.
So,
boiled chicken,
there you
whatever.
Go. So rice,
let her eat.
Boiled chicken, eggs are all easy things to come by. High protein products that Frenchies typically like. You can take a little cottage cheese and mash it up with it if you want to. Don't go too strong with the cottage cheese, because we're going to talk about that. That really you pour that on the first few days after whelp, and it's to do with milk and calcium deficiency. You don't want to start pouring calcium on during the pregnancy, because you mess up the calcium cycle. Intuitively, you'd think, hey, let's give her some calcium and get her ready to have some milk. No, don't do that.
Wait.
The calcium after she's had puppies. Okay, so we talked about the folic acid, very important. Vitamins, people say, what vitamins do you get? And I mean, they're just good quality
multivitamins. We sell them too.
We sell them, and then we sell them. So we of course swear by our products. But you want something that's you recognize what's in it. It doesn't enough said on that. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about how's time going. We're doing really good. Let's talk a little bit about problems during the pregnancy. So we've had experience with this, and the big one is.
If she tries to go into labor a few days.
Well, I was going to talk about pyometra.
Oh, pyometra. Oh,
yes.
Gosh.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us. So pyometria is in Latin for pus-filled sac. The uterus has become infected. It's filled up with pus.
There's two different kinds of pyometra, closed and open.
So what's the difference?
Closed is not a good one.
It's not a good one.
No.
And what we mean by closed is there's no drain to the uterus and all.
So she's swelling up like she's pregnant.
Yeah, swelling up like she's pregnant.
She may not be pregnant because she's swelled up so much.
So we had this happen, and the dog got really sick, and the temperature spiked.
We cried for weeks after that because we had big plans for that.
Yeah, so but we took her to the vet. It was pretty obvious.
She lived.
Oh,
Don't get me no wrong.
Well, she never had any puppies. She's been
No,
fit.
she
But
can't
the
have
point
any
here is pyometria is something you want to get on top of. So pyometria,
if it's open, there's hope.
yeah, if it's open, it's draining, antibiotics. Anytime you've got a dog, after it's been bred, and somebody asked about discharge, if you're still having a lot of discharge, especially if it's pure, it's spelling, kind
Take
of
their
greenish,
temperature.
take the temperature, and it's got to be less than 102.
Right.
If it's 102 or more, you need to head to the vet right away and get antibiotics that day.
More.
That day. Yes, if it's 104, it's very serious.
Yeah, you said less.
102 or higher is indicative of, that is the most likely, this is a big thing because I don't know, I'd say 10% of dogs will experience pyometria in their lifetime.
That was the first for us.
Yes. Well, no, we have had some pyometria that we treated. It was just it was more of a kind of vaginal infection in young dogs.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
that was the very first pyometria, and it was a closed one.
Yeah. So, but closed pyometria, that dog was close to dying. So the dog's absolutely wonderful now, fine, but it's not having babies. What went wrong? Somehow or other, we got some bacteria, probably, maybe during the AI process, who knows? But
it was Kiki.
Yes. But anyway, the point here is got to pay attention to pyometria. That's probably the most likely thing you have problems with. Now, during this pregnancy, which is going to be about 61 days from when you AI'd her till puppies are coming out, there's things that are going to happen, and there's people who've been asking about that progression. So we're now going to talk about that. So when do you start seeing most of our dogs? When can you decide that you think they're pregnant? It's a 2-month process, and what do you typically?
If it's a new mama, the nipple change is right off like 2 weeks.
There you go.
Into pregnancy.
Flat chest.
Mm-hmm.
Nipples are almost completely against them versus the mamas who've had puppies, who their nipples might be half a quarter of an inch long.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing. Right. About how far into the pregnancy do you think we typically see that?
See that?
Yes.
It could be at 2 weeks into the pregnancy.
So as soon as, I don't think you're going to see much before 2 weeks. You could get pyometria before 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
You could get some behavioral changes where she's a lot more lazy and possibly more picky on food. That's probably a good sign.
But normally, your French Bulldogs carry their babies up in their ribs in the beginning. And you'll see a spread out of the ribs, and that's probably at 4 weeks to 4.5 weeks. You'll start seeing the dog is a little bit wider in her rib area.
And maybe getting a bit of a belly.
Uh-huh.
But if there's a single
puppy,
belly,
once they start moving down, then you'll know.
And if you've got a single
and
puppy,
then a milk line,
a singleton, you're very likely not even know if the dog's pregnant until the time you actually decide to have an X-ray a few days before the C-section, because you just don't know. But anyway, most dogs you can tell. Now, there's 2 things that you can do to go find out well, 3 things that you can do, maybe 4. I make it 5. You can do an ultrasound, and the wisdom says 24 days or beyond. Personally, I wouldn't do ultrasounds till day 30 or longer. They tend to be false positives a lot, where I think they're seeing poop and thinking that's a puppy. So it's much easier to see heartbeats and those kind of things after day 30. So I would recommend day 30 if you're going to do, which we don't do.
We've done the pregnancy test here.
Now we do that. Now do that at day 30 or longer. You have to draw blood. We do sell those.
42, day 42.
That is the...
James wants to do it early because he's
32.
Too excited.
You mean 32?
No.
Okay, well, we've got a different opinion about that. But anyway, it's a Regumate pregnancy test kit. You have to draw blood.
Good things come to those who wait.
It's about $12 a test. Takes about 5 minutes. The hardest part is to draw the blood, but it's not difficult. Anyway, that test has been 100% reliable for us in positives. What I'm getting at here is you could have a false negative if you do it too early. Tami says day 42. So look, what I would do is this. I would test at day 32. And then if you don't get a positive result, test again at 42. Because then you have to buy...
Day 40, 42.
Then you have to buy 2 tests from us. But yeah, so I swear by those tests. And then what else do we do? If we've got a dog it came back with a positive Regumate pregnancy test, blood test, and we're 5 days out from whelp and we can't see a puppy anywhere, We think she's pregnant. She doesn't look pregnant. We're doing an X-ray. Absolutely. We have never cut a dog open to find nothing in there, but it happens. You don't want it happening to you because it's expensive, it's kind of soul destroying, and it's not good for your dog. So don't make that silly mistake. If you're not sure, X-ray will make you sure. But those, you've got to do them about day 50, something like that. Probably 45 for X-ray.
You want to watch these females in their last few days, because if they have one early for some reason and it gets stuck, then you're going to have problems.
So Maria Cole says, great, my girl had an ultrasound yesterday, expected due date's March the 15th. Thanks for the live. So we're going to have a little preaching session about timing whelp. Be careful. I don't like the idea that anybody thinks that they can specifically time a whelp off any event accurately and be safe with it.
Start doing her temperature a week before first breeding.
So we'll talk about all that here in a second. So I just want to kind of keep on going to pregnancy again, and then we'll talk about specifically. So the pyometria, that's something to watch out for. You know, what meds do you give? You know, worm. Do you give worming medicine? Do you give heart rate? Do you give vaccinations? Do you do any of those for a pregnant dog? No. Especially vaccinations?
Right. No vaccinations.
Vaccinations for women is an absolute disaster, isn't it? For humans.
Well, can be for sure.
Yeah. So
do not give vaccinations to your dog.
No, just delay it.
If you think she's pregnant, just wait.
Yeah.
Wait till after she's weaned the puppies, then give her vaccination.
But if you know you're going to breed your dog and you're coming up on a vaccination, get that done. You know, right when she's coming into heat, you're making the decision. Get it done right then. That's fine. Just don't do it when she's making babies after day, 12, 13, something like that. Meds, heart medications, Prevecto, flea medications. We don't give those to the pregnant. It says you can do it. It's Prevecto says it's okay, but you also see people who say they've lost puppies. So and why would you give Prevecto? I mean, only because you've got a flea-ridden dog. I mean, if your dog's got fleas running all over it, or it's obviously got parasites and worms, you got a problem. You need to take care of it. You really should have taken care of that before you ever thought about breeding this dog. So we hold back on wormings.
It's all about planning.
Yeah, it is, exactly. So we talked a little bit about whether you're ready to do this. Right.
Yeah.
So then we worm our dogs with Safeguard. When you worm, what's your regime on that?
Pardon me, I thought I turned this off.
What? Has it turned off? No, you're on.
No, I'm on.
We worm before whelp, don't we? And what are we using on that these days?
That's Nemax. Oh, no, Safeguard.
Safeguard, right. Yeah, so Safeguard, fender benders, or goat worms.
3 days. Let's see, you do it...
about day 10, right? We're doing it.
Right, day 10 before.
Yeah, so day 10
and you do it 3 days in a row.
Right, so if
weigh
you do it
her.
Day 10, day 9, day 8, and then she's done by day 7, and then you flip-flop around when she's had puppies, and you start on day 7, so you do 7, 8, and 9, you worm her again.
Right, but weigh her.
Yeah, make sure you get
so you know how much to give her. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, so look, people will say, look, my dog's in an environment that doesn't have any worms. I don't need to worm my dog. Well, the problem is you've got worms, and I've got worms, and Tammy's got lots and lots of worms. You don't know you've got them, and your body always keeps them typically at the right point. But you get stressed, and you can have problems, and so can dogs. And the point here is that you want to try and knock those parasites down to a minimum, because they will, if they're present, they will go over the placenta to the offspring, and then they've got worms, and then you've got to fight that battle. So we're going to do, in our puppy on our puppy end, which we're not really talking about here, we do routine wormings of all of our puppies and mom on the backside of whelp always for this reason. But it makes sense to do the worming. Safeguard's very safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I answering the questions that are coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably didn't talk about this enough here. And Catherine Griffin says old school is temperature. And I don't think I talked about this, because that's absolutely, we're talking now about, well, now hold on a second. We haven't got there yet. We're talking about whelp. I haven't missed it. I thought I'd missed it. Good deal. All right. So no meds, but certainly Safeguard. Folic acid, yes. Vitamins, yes. High quality, protein-rich food, yes. Check temperature, make sure we don't have pyometria. If you've got it, it's likely going to be in the first few weeks after AI. Discharges. A very common discharge that freaks people out is the mucus plug. And,
it's natural.
Yeah, it's natural. It happens.
Could be a week, 10 days before, a week before, or right before.
So the cervix is closed up, and it's closed up by some snotty-looking, gooey stuff. Slime, the mucus plug. The cervix starts opening up, and that drops out. And so then all of a sudden, your dog's walking away from you, and you see this stringy snot, possibly flecked with blood. It might be pinkish in color, and you're like, oh no, she's losing a puppy. Mucus plug. That's all it is. You don't have to worry about it at all. And most dogs, you'll see that happen if you catch it 3 or 4 days before. I guess we catch it maybe half the time. I mean, lots of you don't see it, right? That's somebody the other day said it was happening they were really close, and every day she was dropping a plug. I was like, it's fine. Yep. All right. Whelp. Yes, if you've got some questions there, because we're fixing to be done with most of this. All right, let's talk about the whelp now. So those of you who have natural whelps have got a much easier time with this than those of us who have bulldogs and Frenches that should be born through C-section. And the reason for this is if you are going to force the labor, you're saying, hey, I'm taking dogs at a particular time. The danger is you took them early, the lungs haven't developed, they don't survive. People who've got Labradors and German Shepherds, those dogs just dump them out when they're ready, and for the most part, nature takes its course, and they haven't jumped the gun. But we see lots of people jump the gun on C-sections, don't we? Where they C-section early and have an absolute.
Well, their vet tells them, "Oh, I'm going to be going out of town. I won't be here, so it'll be okay if we take them the day before I leave." Don't do that. Make sure you have a backup plan.
That's all part of that planning thing, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Have 2 or 3 vets on standby just in case.
Every week I get a phone call from somebody that says, hey, do you know where there's a vet I can go to? I'm having puppies. And it's like, I help if I know where there's a vet, but typically I don't.
That's your job to do your research on.
No. You can't do that, right?
You had 63 days to plan for this.
Yeah.
So
or more.
do your homework.
It's 70 days.
Go find your vets. Go find your country vets.
Yes,
But the main question is, have you done C-sections on bulldogs?
And it makes a big difference on price too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you can travel.
Yeah.
So typically,
and that's where our traveling incubator comes in handy too. You have to travel. Because James and I do it 45 minutes away from the vet, an hour and a half away from the vet.
Yeah.
And even further if you're away from the vet.
If you live in California, some of you might want to cover your ears up here. I mean, you could pay $6,000 on a C-section. I mean, $6,000.
Awful.
For us, a C-section price these days is typically between $500 and $1,000. And for you folks who are in that
$1,600, you're cheap on that.
Yeah, but for those of you who are paying these $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 C-section fees, typically you're in the big cities. And if you can just drive an hour away to find a country vet who does this, then you might find that your C-section fee is substantially less. So just think about, don't get too, I don't want to just harp on the price. I guess the point here is be prepared. What Tami said is be prepared, right? So when is she going to have puppies? When the temperature drops below 99.0, you can expect puppies in 24 hours. If she is
below 99.
99.0. So she'll be 101.
When she hits 98.
Well, 98.9.
If you've been taking it a week before, once a day, once she goes to 99, do it twice a day so you don't miss that drastic drop at 98 because that's within 24 hours. Too.
Yeah, I want to modify that a little bit. I mean, we normally take it, like you say, 5 days, 7 days beforehand, don't we? Right. And
once a day. And then once it goes to 99, we start doing it twice
even
a day.
a bit higher than that, because that's pretty close, isn't it? Now, when we say 99, you mean 99.0. Yes, right. So it's getting really close. I mean, it might go up a little bit, but once you've gone down below that 98.9, it might go all the way down to 97 something. She may be shivering at that point, but she's having puppies.
If she's shivering and nesting and she's refusing to eat and she may be throwing up
and panting.
She's in early stages of labor.
Being restless and walking around circles.
Don't leave her side, please.
If he's doing all that stuff, go to the vet. Get a PG test done. If you're in doubt, get a progesterone test.
That progesterone machine's fantastic to have because it helps you decide about when she's going to have her babies too. Yes.
So PG level of 3 or less on an IDEX, 3.5 for fine care, you're in safe territory. So that's the gold standard right there. But you can do it off all this other stuff that just, if you just time it off the date that you did the AI or the date that you saw puppies at some point on an ultrasound and you expect to get it right, you might, but that's not good enough because there's no reason to get it wrong. If you get it wrong, you screwed up big time. And I mean, it's no fun. We've done it. We have an incubator now. Part of the reason we have an incubator is if we have a problem with a sick, weak, frail puppy, it goes into an incubator, doesn't it?
Well, we leave it on for 2 weeks after the puppies are born.
Yep.
It's pennies to plug into the wall.
Right. All right. So let's look at some of these now.
It comes with a car adapter to put in your car and use in that too.
Oh yeah, the portable. Yes, exactly. All right. Okay. So now I think it's time for people who've got questions. We're just going to kind of go out of order at this point, just to answer questions because this whole thing is supposed to be on pregnancy. So it's the idea we're going to talk about starting point, an ending point, past whelp. That's going to be for another day. And by the way, while I've got a little break here, look at stuff. Hit the like button. We'd really appreciate that. It helps our channel and it makes a difference. And how many people you got up there now? Oh, good, quite a few people. I like that. All right. Okay. Somebody's asking about what's the first signs of heat? Drops of blood on the ground, right?
Yep.
Yep.
When you're expecting your dog to come into heat and you know that it's about that time, throw a white towel, one of those cheap white towels from Walmart. That way, because if she's running around with a bunch of females, they're going to keep her clean. So this way, in the night, she laid on that white towel, there's a little blood spot. That, you can count that as day one, when you first see that.
Sorry, I'm reading here about questions. Okay. What was that last question on? I thought I was reading this.
It was, right.
First signs of heat.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
Right, so all right. What's your young franchise says? What's your thoughts on different PG machines? Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, hey, look, I'm biased because we use the fine care machine. I mean, IDEX is what you'll see at most vets. Chroma, you'll see at vets. Or I can't think of the names of them. There are some names out there that are big machines,
and they're a little bit different on numbers than the progesterone machine that we have on.
Yeah. Well, in particular, I can't think of the name of the silly machine. It's a Mini Vitus. The Mini Vitus, like what you'd see as being a 15 on an IDEX, is like a 30 on a Mini Vitus. So you can really get messed up.
Yeah.
If someone needs to know how the machine works.
Make sure that when you're calling Cody, if you're using one of our studs and you're calling Cody and reporting what your numbers are, make sure you know what that machine is on the progesterone machine. Get the name of it because that'll help him decide on numbers also when he needs to know those numbers for when to ship semen out to you.
Yes, and while you were saying that, I was thinking about machines, and now I've gone completely blank. Other machines. Well, look, let's just talk a little bit about the various different techniques that people use. So there's progesterone machines. Honestly, I can't talk about the relatively inexpensive ones like we sell because I use that machine and it works very well. I've been using it for like 7 years.
And what's the name of it?
Fine Care by Wantho. And they're a USA-based company. I mean, they have manufacturing overseas, but they have a US-based office.
The customer service is really excellent.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but we sell them with My Breeder Supply.
Now, I would say this. I recommend that when you're going to spend a few $1,000s on a progesterone machine. Our machine's like $2,700.
It's worth every penny.
But make sure you're buying it for somebody. If you have a problem, somebody can help you because you will have questions. And if you go buy one on eBay or it's a refurb, just be careful because if you have a problem, you need help, you're probably not getting it, and you probably will need some help. But
it's great for timing heat.
Yeah, heat time.
It's great for. I mean, you'll get bigger litters out of it. You'll get. Litters that are alive.
For us, one puppy makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To pay for a machine, easily.
Yeah. Knowing the timing of when the puppies are coming.
So other things that I see are the Dominski wand, kind of a black handle thing, the wand that you stick up the dog and it reads the mucus resistance and gives you a number on it. I used to have one of those. I had it for about 2 weeks before I decided this thing was not going to do me any good at all. Not a believer in that thing. It was very difficult to interpret what was going on. It almost felt like you were looking at, one of these mediums to try and look at it and decide what it meant.
Yeah.
It's very hard to understand what it meant. And so for that reason, I was not successful.
Well, remember when we used to look at cornified
Yeah, so that's another thing. So you can do
Look like cornflakes.
You can do what's called ventral cytology, is what Tami's talking about. You can do it yourself. You have a microscope, not difficult to do. So you can look at the shape of the cells. And
If
when
you got kids around, it's very interesting for them.
I think you should have a microscope. Tami got one for a birthday present one time. She wasn't very happy about that.
Chanel goes, "Oh, cool," and I said, "Well, since it's so cool, it can be your present." And she loved it.
There are some little strips you can buy, like the kind that you check the salt level or the chlorine in your pool, and you put that up against the back end of the dog, and it changes a particular color. That is an absolute waste of time. I mean, that not only does it work, it completely gives you the wrong idea about what the F's going on. So it's not only, I don't like when I do this, give me the look. Not only does it not give you good information, but it steers you in the wrong direction. So the point here is that's worse than doing nothing, in my opinion. So don't go with that. But honestly, yeah. All right. So more questions.
That one just came out.
Okay.
You already answered it.
No. Richard Martin, what would you do for a mother dog with a special diet? And how do you switch her to puppy food? What do you think?
How do you switch her to puppy food
Well,
when she first gets pregnant?
She's got on a special diet. Maybe she's got allergies or something. Something like that. So she's on a special diet. So then, would you take her off that special diet and put her on a puppy food, or would you leave her on a special diet?
I would give her half and half.
Okay, well there you
for
go.
a bit
Yeah,
and see how that goes.
So there you go. I was going to say something different, but I think that's a really good idea. What I was going to say was I wouldn't take her off. If she's got a special medical kind of diet, then I absolutely would not take her off it. But what Tami's saying is, try it half and half and see how that works for her. What you want to do?
If she's on a special diet, you probably got it from your vet.
So
go to your vet and see if there's a special diet on puppy food, and maybe they could direct you the right way on that too.
And if she's maintaining a weight, then the diet she's on is fine. I mean, you start changing diets on dogs, and you can have runs at the back end.
But the puppies don't need the diet food.
Well, that's a good point. That's a great point.
I think the half and half is the route to go, and then gradually
that's a great point.
Completely on.
I mean, what is the impact of these puppies? She's eating special food, and now she's producing the milk, right? So I think you've got to have someone's have to ask the manufacturer of the product or the vet about that, and that's a great point.
Yeah.
Someone's asking about having a backup stud in the event that you're yes. I think, look, the problem gets to be with stud dogs, if a person only has a single stud and they have a problem because they've used the dog too much, because it's the only dog they've got, or the dog wasn't want to perform on that particular day, you are SOL, right?
Well, and you've got a stud that you've had and haven't used him in a year or two.
Yeah, and you may have a backup stud.
Problems.
Yeah, so what I'm getting at here is you need a backup stud.
Yeah.
If the stud owner's got a backup stud for you, that is the best situation you can be in, because you're still with him. You may have given him money. You've got a relationship, and you keep on going with it, right? But if his only dog fails, it's scramble time. And I mean, if he's only got a single dog, you got to think about whether that's the right stud person for you or not.
Yeah. And we've definitely got backup studs.
Yeah. So it's kind of sad because everybody's got to start somewhere. He may have the most beautiful dog in the whole world, but just make sure that he's got some idea, or train yourself with a single one-shot, what do you call that, a one-trick pony. Right. So,
but always know your DNA of your dog, and you're needing that backup stud. You can tell somebody that DNA on that female and what you're expecting out of puppies in case you have to have a backup stud.
So Richard Martin, who was asked about switching the dog, says that so she gets a cane of freshwater fish, but she gets runny diarrhea when I feed her other foods. So yeah, right. So she's got something going on with the bowels, and you don't want her to. I mean, it's hard enough looking after puppies.
Well, we do have whitefish in our food that we sell, right. And we sell on.
But can you think of times when? Because I know it's happened to us. You've got 8, 9 puppies, and Mama gets diarrhea. That's not a good day, is it? It's like everybody's upset with everybody else in the house that day.
The babies get diarrhea.
Yeah, and then the babies like to get diarrhea too. So you want to try to get this under control. So if you're on a special
diet. Has she been bred before and had
puppies?
He
doesn't say.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't say.
I visit with my vet some more about that, because she can get bred because of her tummy problem.
So Ancho Tamp says, if puppies are in a warm temperature room and always in an incubator, will there be less risk of anything bad happening? I think so. I don't like that solution. Do you? No. Bonding is what you're going to damage here. Bonding with mom.
You're teaching mama not to have those natural instincts that are hers and hers only. And
she may walk away from it and say, guess what?
You're doing it.
You're doing it.
You don't want to feed 8 or 9 puppies.
Yeah. We've never been in that situation. No, never been in it. So
you won't have any sleep at all.
No, if you're going to feed them especially if you've got a tube feed, or if you've got a bottle feed 10 puppies.
That's unreal.
And it takes 10 minutes a
You'll
puppy.
have to learn how to tube feed because
it's going to take you 2 hours to feed those puppies. You can go to sleep for 1 hour before you've got to get up and do it again. You are going to be
you're going to have to learn how to tube feed. And that's another thing on when you're tube feeding, you got to know exactly how far that little tube goes down.
Yes.
You got to learn where you mark it at.
Yes. But how do we get this conversation?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about mums, and we're talking about because you're separating them, you put them in the incubator. No, we like to leave mums and babies together, right?
It's just
but otherwise, you're down this Prozac path where she doesn't want to look after puppies, and you've got to drop a Prozac
That's
every 3 hours.
That's where our heated whelping system is so fantastic.
Yeah. But the fundamentals any time of any whelp system is you've got to have heat, you've got to have a pig rail, and you've got to make sure that mum can't get the puppies out and take them somewhere else. And then how you do that, there's different techniques. Our system, we think, is by far the best.
We still check on our babies, but not like if you had them in an incubator.
Well, we don't hardly do anything, do we?
But we check on them.
Especially the first few days.
We don't dare leave them alone.
No, but the first day, we're hanging around the kitchen because they're in the kitchen with us.
First 4 or 5 days we're hanging.
I mean, this lasted. It was pretty easy, wasn't it? But anyway, the point here is that we believe that mamas and babies should be together. You just got to put them in an environment that's safe. If you can do that, it makes it better for the baby. It makes it much, much better for mum. And it makes it so much easier on you as well. So it's not difficult to do. So you should go to My Breeder Supply and go look at the whelping system. And there's a video or videos there.
You said this last litter was really easy. The reason why it was really easy is because Shelley has our last little litter.
Well, I know, but I meant the litter before that.
The litter before that.
Well,
yes, that was easy.
Yeah.
And just a quick reminder, we have 4 babies left, 1 female, 3 little males, 2 full fluffies, and 2
so Richard
fluffy
Exotic
terriers.
here says puppies don't learn how to suck. We need to feed. So I'm not sure if you're asking what you do in that situation. So, puppies, if you've got a puppy, put your finger in its mouth, it'll go like this. It'll warm, moist, suckling, right? That's a puppy that wants a bottle. That's a puppy that wants a nipple. If you won't do that, that puppy, the only thing you can do is tube feed the puppy. Either you don't, if it's not getting any nourishment, what happens to a puppy that gets no nourishment?
Dehydrated.
Then what happens?
You got problems.
It does. Right. You've got to get food into a puppy. If you don't do that, the puppy dies. The first couple of days, it's pretty tenuous. I mean, a puppy comes out and will lose half an ounce that first day. So it came out maybe as a Frenchie, as an 8-ounce puppy. That's pretty normal. The next day, it's 7.5 ounces. That's not scary. But if that keeps on going, and you get down to 6 ounces and then 5 ounces, you've got a problem there. You need a puppy to gain, after the first day, gain half an ounce every day. And if you see that, you're good. And so to Todd's point, how you tell that
they're dehydrated is take a puppy on the back of its skin, on its back of its neck, and pull it up and let go of it. And if it stands there and doesn't go back down, that's a dehydrated puppy.
Right. Yes.
So if it goes back down, you're safe and sound. But if you take that skin and pull it up and let go of it and it stays there, then you...
Time for fluids.
Yeah.
The intravenous fluids possibly, or even stick a needle with some saline on the...
That's only if it's real bad.
Yeah. But if you don't know what to do, you need to find out what to do. You need to go to a vet. So if you get a puppy that's not a happy puppy, it's whining, it's crying, it won't get on a nipple. If you don't do anything, the puppy dies. And if you don't know what to do, then depending on how dire the situation is, you've got to go get help. And that might be in the form of an emergency room, which we've never, ever been to in our lives. Expensive, and you probably don't get the best of care in those places.
About people that have gone to the emergency
room. Yeah, well,
they're
forced into it because they weren't prepared. But the point here is that, puppies, they're pretty fragile. We get nervous, don't we, for the first... Now, you get a puppy that comes out, big litter, 10 puppies. But you got some 10 and 11-ounce puppies, and they are fat as hell. They're not going to have any problems.
Oh, you can feel the difference.
You got one that's 4.5 ounces.
You can feel the difference.
If it's less than that, it's probably not alive. But if it's 4.5 ounces, that puppy is going to take some care, because if you just put that with mum, it's going to get swamped.
You got to have a little weight machine and weigh those puppies. When you bring them home, weigh them that day.
Right.
They're going to lose a 1/2 ounce the next day. Then they should gain that 1/2 ounce back the day after that. And if they stay the same when you're still weighing them for another week, then you need to probably do some feeding to that puppy. But if they're gaining a 1/2 ounce every day, you're doing great.
Right, and they're quite happy. Yeah. Anthro says, I've been watching you guys for 4 years. Thank you very much. I hope you subscribed. If you haven't, you should do so.
Yes.
And at least like us. He's for 4 years now, started on 2 litters coming April. We'll have them in the mum most of the day and an incubator while mum's outside on breaks. Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, for us, mum, you have to almost force her to get out, don't you? Mm-hmm. And she just wants to be.
She's like, I'm not going outside.
Yeah.
These are my babies.
Yeah.
I'm staying right here.
Yeah.
You have to coast her out, coach her out.
It's not like she wants a break, is it?
And yeah. And you have to make her go out that door or go out there with her. And then as soon as she does it, she's making a beeline right straight for that door and clawing at the door going, let me in. She
doesn't want to break. I mean,
No.
She just doesn't want to break.
No.
So we don't, I mean, sometimes, especially as we get further on the whelp, like 2 weeks in, 2 weeks and the puppy's eyes are walking around, we might stick her outside and make her stay outside to get a little bit of exercise, right? Because she does not want to do it. She wants to be with the babies. She doesn't want to break. You've got to force a break on her. I wouldn't worry about breaks for the first 3, 4, 5 days.
Well, it's good for her to go out and go pee those first couple of days because she's flushing out.
So that's
what's left inside
so that's a
of
good
her
point. I mean, we're going to let our girl out at least 4 times a day. If we've got to force her because we don't want her pooping in the cage,
right?
And we don't want that starting, because if it starts, it may not stop, right? So we don't have a problem with that. But Tammy's, she's pretty strict with dogs about this. If a dog, she sees right now. I'm looking at Sophie over there, and if Sophie, and she's in a cage while we're not looking after her. You think, Sophie? Go grab her real quick. See how she behaves. Go grab her. She's such a pretty dog. But see how she does.
Yeah.
But the point here is
she wants to play.
If Tammy catches her pooping, there's going to be some scolding going on, and then she's going to be taken outside right away, and she doesn't go get to play. So, but I'm not saying that you've got to chastise your females that have got puppies. You don't. But the point here is that I don't think the exercise is too critical to start with, but certainly they've got to go out. You don't want them pooping in the cage. But if you can get them to go outside and get some exercise, great. And then to put the puppies in the incubator while that's going on, that sounds very safe. Okay.
She said she was sleeping.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
So this is...
this is Sophia. We call her Sophie.
Yeah, I'm going to spin this down a little bit, see if we can see her better.
Yeah, it didn't spin that.
Not
Yeah,
much.
you can see her.
Yeah, it's good.
I can see her. Okay.
Tell us about Sophie.
Sophia is a Rojo and Tan full fluffy. She's mama's girl. And she loves her daddy too. Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 6 months.
Yep, so she won't have puppies for another 9 months to a year probably, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
This is a Mo baby, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's a good girl.
Willy Wonka girl.
Willy Wonka girl, yes. Really nice line.
And Cody Wayne has a Willy Wonka son. That is a new shade, full fluffy. He is beautiful. New shade.
Hover 575 says, what if she bled inside? What's the best way to get her pregnant? I don't understand your question. I'm not sure what you mean by bleed inside.
I saw that a while ago too.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got vaginitis and she's got some blood coming out of the vulva, you can treat for that. Antibiotics, give her a flush. But if she's got blood inside the uterus, which is the other place, then I mean, that doesn't sound like that dog's going to get pregnant or needs to get pregnant. Not unless you can get somebody to tell you how you're going to treat that. So it doesn't sound like that needs to be checked by a vet, because I don't have an answer for you. It doesn't sound like that's a dog that I necessarily would want to try and have pregnant.
Don't look at her in the camera. I'm a pretty girl. I'm a pretty girl. Oh, or let's mama. Or let's get sugars on.
So someone's asking here about fleas. How do you treat fleas, Tammy?
Oh, well, we talked about that last week. I'm going to have to go put her up because she's climbing up me.
Okay, all right. She's not going to behave.
So bye.
if you've got fleas and the dog's not pregnant, the dog's not got puppies on board, then Provecto and things like this are a great way to treat for fleas. And there's other medications out there that you give orally. There's some injections that you can give. They work great too. There's medication that you can do. So what we do, I think more the question would be is what do you do with a dog that is pregnant? You don't want to give it things like Provecto. Then I would go get Adam's flea spray, just spray that on the dog, and that'll knock down all the live fleas. You can do a shampoo dip. There's dips that you can use. They're probably fairly safe to do on dogs that'll kill eggs. Got to do them a few times. But I would much prefer, personally, to do that than give some kind of medication to a pregnant dog that's fairly vicious. And you can use that. What color is the flea spray? Well, it comes in a squirt bottle, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's blue on the outside.
That's what's it, Adam's?
Adam's flea and tick.
Where do you get that?
Spray. You can buy that at Walmart.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
right.
Used to you could just get it at your vet.
You can use that on a pregnant dog, or certainly even a dog that's got puppies. But there's a way that Tami does this.
Only just straight down her back and rub it in.
Right.
But hopefully you don't have that.
Why just
problem.
down the back?
Well, when they're nursing, the baby's nursing, you don't want that running down to where they nurse at.
That makes complete sense to me.
Maybe kill a puppy.
Right. Yes.
Don't give them the one that they eat the pill at all.
So someone's asking here about
or nursing.
When is the time to stop breeding a dog? So
your female will let you know when it's stop breeding a dog.
So
plus, when you go into the vet and you do a C-section, we always ask, how does she look on the inside? And that helps you make a decision too. And sometimes a female will let you know for sure when they're done. They just don't have a heat anymore.
Right. So Kit's doing that right now.
Yeah,
isn't she?
I think Kit's pretty much done.
She's passed. Yeah. She's about 4 years old.
Yeah, 5.
5. I think she's probably done. It's a shame, really. She had 2 litters, had 2 pre-litters. But she's probably saying she's done it. I mean, look, what are the reasons to breed a dog when maybe it's not going to have puppies? Well, there's some expense involved in it. There's stud fees involved in it. You may have a single puppy, and you still got all those other expenses involved in it. It's if you're looking from the financial aspect, to get a singleton puppy is not something that we relish. Now, if you just want a puppy for yourself, and that's what you're trying to get done, that might be fine for you in that case. But I don't even know why I got down this path now.
Well, I don't either, but it's back to when the female tells you.
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
When
the female tells you, when she's had a litter of puppies and she's weaned them and she's running and playing like she was before she got pregnant, you can breed her again. But I like to do 2 breedings and skip. There's some people that do a breeding and skip. I
like to do 2 breedings back to back and then give her a break.
Yeah.
So I do.
And give her a break. 2 breedings, what I said, 2 breedings and a break.
Yeah.
Is what I do.
Yeah, right, yes.
And then there's some people that do it back to back to back to back. And I feel like that's kind of an overload, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, nature's
okay. Out in the wild, they probably did this. But then the female also, I think, has kind of control of that too.
We're lazy too, aren't we? We just like to have breaks anyway. And that's the reality of this as well, isn't it? It's like we just, But I mean, if you've got 3 or 4 females and you think, I don't know if I want 4 females bred, because when one comes in heat, so's the rest of them, a week to 2 weeks apart from each other. Then you've got 4 litters coming up. And if you don't want to do that, then you can alternate certain females too. So I think there's also an ethical side of some of this as well. So people are saying, is it ethical to breed dogs? Of course, people typically watching this channel are going to give a thumbs up and they say it's fine. There are a lot of people who think, and there's a large percentage of America who thinks that the things that we're doing to raise dogs is completely what we shouldn't be doing, and they probably shouldn't be eating cows and other things as well. But,
or fishing.
Yeah, or maybe even fishing be even more extreme than that. But I think that the ethical side of this is, I think one of the questions that you have to ask is, does the dog enjoy the process? Does the dog hate it? I mean,
if you've got a mama dog that is not nice to her babies, you don't want to breed her again.
Right. She doesn't want to do it. You don't want to do it. I wouldn't force her. But I suspect that what do you think of your pregnancies? Was that something you look back on and say that was a good time? Yeah, right.
Because everything tasted good to me.
Yeah, well, you've had 3 beautiful children.
Yeah.
And those were, 3 sections of your life that were really happy times, right? Yeah. So I don't think there's an unethical thing. I suspect the French Bulldogs are the same. Certainly our dogs want to be with their babies. So I think that ethically, I'm happy with the fact that we can breed them, and I don't think we're doing them, any disservice. However, if a dog's getting old, it gets to be at some point where it's got to give up too much. It's too much of a stress. And that's why human beings typically stop having babies when they're in their 30s. And so there's, but people can carry on having babies. I don't know what the Guinness World Record is, 100 years old or something crazy. But anyway,
what world did you come from?
No, seriously, if you go look it up, I looked it up. I mean, there are people in their 80s that routinely, I mean, not routinely like it's happening all the time, but you can get pregnant at 80 years old. It can happen. Obviously, if you've gone through menopause, you can't. But some people have not gone through menopause at that age. So my point here is
time for James to go to a home. I think.
But the point here is that at some point, if they have 5 puppies and they each weigh a pound at birth, with the percent of everything else, that dog's got to made 10 pounds worth of itself available to those puppies, and it's losing it the day of it's losing it over the 2 months it's pregnant, and of course the moment that it has a whelp. So I think the ethical side of this is I don't think that breeding back to back is necessarily a bad thing. I think that what you want to do is stop at the right time before
you're a man.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole point here was that we said that dogs like it.
Well,
right. But yeah. Anyway, talk to people. Tell people about Cody's stud dogs. You know about the deals he offers?
He's running some nice specials. I know that. Look at the specials; they're great. You can send in $500 for a deposit, and then pay the rest when the puppies are ready to be registered. Or if you pay it early within 50 days, and the females, has the babies in 61 to 63 days, if you pay it off early, the whole full amount, then you get a free traveling incubator.
We need little traveling incubators coming down the screen like this as we say that.
Yeah.
And then to talk about the half price part?
No.
But every female that you produce from a breeding that you got from one of Cody's dogs is entitled to a half price breeding to one of his dogs.
From one of our studs.
For the life of that dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then the offspring of that dog, again, if it's bred to one. So that's a really special deal. Somebody's asking here, Jesse James says, what we're about to go over. Well, let's do this one here. Jesse James says, I love the pies and brindles. Why do people not like pies or brindles?
Oh, I love pies. And brindles are beautiful too. But why we don't have them is because we're got a lot of tan points in our lines, and it runs through the tan points. It fades them out. It runs like veins through their tan points, and it's not just as pretty anymore. But there
you go.
I like pieds like I do.
There's
some people that don't like merles, and I love merles. Pieds and merles are very eye-catching.
But there's a reason why you don't have any brindles in your lineup.
I just mentioned that about the tan points.
Okay, sorry.
I think. But anyway, so, but that's why. But I'm going to also throw this in too. Cody's got litters on the ground. I have a litter that's finishing up. They're 11 weeks old. There's 4 of them left. And so to call me and ask me, 580-799-1910. And Cody's website is My Frenchies of Texas is his website.
Or just go to Breeder 101.
Well, but my granddaughter is whelping them, Cherub. And then Shelly is whelping that litter that I've got. That's 4 left. But give me a call, 580-799-1910. And I will discuss what we've got and what you're looking for, and I can direct you which way to go. Yep. And
so we're about to tie this up. I saw some things coming across the screen about some
we all can FaceTime.
Oh, yeah.
We'll FaceTime those babies.
Hey, give us a like. We really appreciate that. Next one's probably going to be next Sunday. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about then, but we'll announce that probably Wednesday or Thursday. Mm-hmm. So, hey, thanks for watching and spending part of your Sunday with us. And
MyBreederSupply.com, LoveMyPups.com. Instagram, Love My Pups Official, and then My Breeders of Texas. No, I said that wrong. My Frenchies of Texas.
Here comes the thumb. It's coming. Bye, Brody.
See ya. Bye-bye.